Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Madness, madness, they call it madness. Madness, madness, they call it madness.
Let's talk to Stu in West Bromwich. Hello, Stu.
Yeah, I'm not in West Bromwich, Sheila. I'm trying to get to Dover, but I've just been listening to your show.
Are you from West Bromwich?
Yeah, I'm from Derbyshire originally.
We're on the right track.
Up in the Black Country.
Okay.
I was just thinking, the perspective in the West Midlands totally differs from the area where you are down here. It's everybody that I speak to just wants to get out. They're not interested in Theresa May and her future. They're not interested in what Parliament think. All they're saying is, we voted out, get out. Like the gentleman said before, the ideological argument. It isn't an ideological argument. It's the result of the referendum. That's simply it. We voted out. Get out. Stop prevaricating with all this chasing your tails, with all these MPs telling us what we should be doing, what's best for us, as usual, you know.
So I presume you voted to leave, I'm assuming.
I did, yeah.
And when and answer what Dr. Philip Lee said earlier on, I don't know whether you heard it, but he essentially has said that vote leave, the actual word, was a no-deal Brexit. But the campaign was a have your cake and eat it Brexit. We can get any version of Brexit we like. It's going to be so easy. We'll have the fastest trade deal in history. La 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 la, and none of that has turned out to be the truth.
Yeah, but did you read the campaign leaflet that Cameron sent out at 11 million quid? Because we did, and it said no customs union, no freedom of movement. We get our sovereignty back. We get our fishing back. None of that's talked about now. It's just the second referendum all the time down here, as far as I can see. I'm an ex-soldier as well. I served in Northern Ireland, and the Soldier F campaign, I don't want to go off track, but everybody's ignoring that as well. It's a massive, angry bunch of people.
Do you mean the soldier that's being charged or facing charges for murder?
Yeah, allegedly. It was 34, 40 years ago. How's that going to stand up in court? Why take him to court? He's 70 years old. Massive anger there is all around the country, and they're ignoring it. All they talked about last week.
Who's ignoring it? We've talked about it on this programme. I've seen it spoken about on TV. I've seen a report of a big campaign in Lancashire about it.
There's been nothing.
Well, those are just things I've done and seen myself, so there's been something.
No, there's been nothing up north. I'm sorry. If it's been on here for a couple of minutes, you're lucky.
Well, no, I'm sorry, but you're wrong, I'm afraid, because the Lancastrian campaign for Soldier F I saw in the northwest of England when I was up there, as I am a lot.
Well, fair enough, but the majority of ex-veterans are now, and on all the Facebook pages, are absolutely fuming, and there's going to be massive marches next Saturday all over the country in big cities, and you'll see it, but whether it's reported or not, it's a moot point, isn't it?
Is that connected to Brexit in your mind in some way?
Yes, it is, because it's the people that are angry about a certain subject. We've had climate change for the last 2 weeks, which most people don't care about, other than those people who haven't got a job in London, who can afford to stand around with a plastic bag around them, shouting at us about the weather. Because all it is weather at the end of the day, to most people. This is my opinion. You might disagree, but I'm just saying it from a perspective of living in the Black Country, where people call a spade, and they're just it's disgraceful that the Brexit people aren't being heard.
All right, Stu, thanks very much indeed for your call. Stu from West Bromwich on his way to Dover. Thank you to him for his call.
I think that when the comments were sent to me, they were transcribed and sent to me by a journalist. I think my initial feeling was this is just the same man doing the same thing. He's only got one shtick, that he's dines out on having a go at me. That's all he's got. And then I was actually in the bank, and the person I was talking to in the bank said to me, "Are you all right?" Because I was having to respond on text message. And I looked up and I said, yeah, no, I'm absolutely fine. And I realised that I did what all women do in these situations, is that I'd been putting a brave face on it and pretending that it was all fine and that I could cope. And it sort of dawned on me that for 4 years, essentially, this man has made a career out of harassing me, and I felt harassed. I felt like, how can somebody say that they would rape me if forced and be a legitimate candidate in an election? It was one thing when he was just some idiot off the internet with a load of bros following him. It's a different thing when he's standing on the same platforms that I'm standing on, that he will potentially go to a parliament himself as an elected representative when he said these things, and I just cannot believe our system is so weak at the moment that that's allowed to happen.
And when you got home, I think, you did cry, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I cried actually in the street in Birmingham city centre.
Did you?
Just because I felt like the enormous weight of years and years and years of abuse. And I felt... It's not that I'm frightened for the credible threat to me, actually. I'm not frightened that anyone's going to hurt me. I can't...
So you don't fear for your physical safety?
I can't live my life fearing for my physical safety, otherwise I would do nothing. And I really like living my life like a normal person. So I don't let that creep in very often.
Called from Ilford. You are worried about freedom of speech, James. In what sense, in what context?
Well, most definitely. How are you doing, Sheila?
Okay.
Yes, what's been going on recently is that people with a certain view, i.e. conservative views, small c, are being shut down on places like YouTube, and they're being unpersoned, as it's being known. This is a real problem.
What happens when you're unpersoned?
Basically, all of your videos are taken down. Also, they can
by Facebook?
By different, all this different social media comes. So you've got YouTube are doing it, Instagram are doing it, and also it's even stretching as far as other things like being able to get Ubers and things like that. This is what's happening in the States right now.
What, the people are being blacklisted from being in an Uber, something like that?
Things like that, yes. This is how serious it's getting out of hand.
Well, can I ask you what kind of views you would class as conservative views? Because conservative views, well, it covers a lot, doesn't it? What do you mean when you say small c conservative views? Give me an example.
Populist, traditionalist, family-orientated views, Christian views, things like that.
Well,
it is a fact that certain Christian channels have been taken down off YouTube.
What are they saying? What are they saying, these Christian channels? Because
that's the thing, see. If anyone who's got an opinion that doesn't align itself with the progressive liberals, they are being taken out.
No, hang on, James. It's interesting that you said that, because I'm quite traditional in my outlook on life, and I'm a Catholic, and I don't get shut down. I've got a daily radio programme. When you say people are being shut down for their views, if a Christian channel is being shut down, I'm just keen to know what it was broadcasting.
Well, you'll probably find that it was due to something along their opinion on gay marriage or something like that. Usually, as I say, these sort of progressive topics, where they fall out of line with those, and the people in Silicon Valley are very much predominantly progressive. They basically unperson you.
But you're using all kinds of little buzzwords here that strike me as kind of, I don't know, progressive, unperson, traditionalist, populist. They sound like things
I can use to describe what's going on.
Well, the thing is, routine. Well, let's focus on Britain for a second, rather than Silicon Valley. Routinely, on radio and television and online and on social media here in the UK, I frequently see debates and hear debates about gay marriage and about whether it is the same as heterosexual marriage, and people with religious views being absolutely free to argue that it isn't, and people being absolutely free to argue back, and people saying it is simply a secular contract, others saying it's every bit as sacramental as a religious marriage. You know, I've heard all of those arguments on British radio and television, so nobody's
British radio isn't quite as bad at the moment.
But nobody's being unpersoned, are they?
Well, no. Well,
least of all,
it depends. I mean, some people struggle to get through to this show, because they have your filter system you have there.
What filter system? I think you are, James. I don't have a filter system on this programme, other than the Ofcom rules, the law, and common decency. Those are my rules.
Let's speak about the geezer you spoke about earlier from UKIP. He's a comedian. He's no different to Ricky Gervais or any of these other people. Yet, because he made a joke 3 years ago, they're using it as something to hit him with now. But it's a joke.
No, but hang on. In a press conference just a couple of weeks ago, when he was asked about his so-called joke, and frankly, James, as a woman, if somebody joked about whether or not they'd rape me, depending on my level of attractiveness or not, and then subsequently, when challenged about it, joked, in inverted commas, as to how drunk he'd have to be, whether there was enough beer in the world to rape me, I'd call the police.
It's quite obviously a joke, isn't it? You know, you can
tell
by the context. And
is it, James? Have you ever been
thing.
Sexually assaulted?
It's all about the
Have
context.
you ever been sexually assaulted?
No, not recently, no.
Oh. Well, if somebody says they're going to sexually assault you and they're rating how you look as to whether it's a good reason to or not to, that's pretty serious, isn't it?
I'd just block them straight away. Block. Goodbye. And that's how it should be. You know, people should have the freedom to speak their mind. You've got to have the right to be wrong.
But what kind of person wants to say, I wonder whether I'd rape that woman in the public eye? I wonder whether I'd rape that girl.
It was a joke, and in the context of the joke.
When is that funny?
It's a very deep thing.
On what level is that funny, James? You're not laughing, I'm not laughing, Jess Phillips wasn't laughing. Where is it funny to wonder whether you would rape a woman and then claim to be a decent individual? Where is it funny?
People have got to grow a thicker skin. If you're going to put yourself online...
Why should anybody grow a thicker skin when somebody's talking about raping them?
And you're voicing your opinion to the world, like that last lady who was on. I'm sorry, love, but you tweeted it out.
Talking about...
personal thing.
So we'll come back to her in a moment. I want to focus on thicker skin. Why should any person on the planet grow a thicker skin to accommodate someone talking about raping them? No, you are wrong. It's unacceptable. End of story.
I know what you're saying. It sounds very virtuous, but it is.
It's not virtue.
Fascism.
It's not virtue. It's decency.
Fascism, Sheila.
No, James. Fascism is thinking you can walk down the streets talking about raping women with impunity. That's fascism.
Silencing people is authoritarian, and it leads to a bad place, and it's shown through history that that's what happens.
Okay, all right, let's linger on that for a minute. Silencing people is authoritarianism and leads to a bad place. What does talking about raping people lead to?
It's a joke. Listen,
that's interesting. That's interesting. So hang on. I wanted. You see, you're doing what a lot of people do. Saying their thing and then trotting away from what they've just said very quickly and saying something else. I'm bringing you right back to the words that are coming out of your mouth. I'm going to.
It's a joke.
You have just said. You
might not like the joke.
You have just said. If I may, you have just said silencing is authoritarian and it leads to a bad place.
Correct.
If I say to you, actually, I find it really funny silencing people like you, silencing people who talk about raping women. I find it hilarious. My free speech. It's not funny, is it?
That's great.
It's not funny.
You're right to your opinion. And everyone's got to have an opinion. It's part of the learning process for human beings to learn. No one's right all the time.
Is calibrating a woman for rape an opinion or an offence?
Listen, you're taking...
Answer my question. Answer my question. Answer my question. Answer my question. Is calibrating a woman for rape an opinion or an offence?
It's all down to context, okay?
Goodbye. You are no longer fit to be on the airwaves.